Foggy marshes, Gothic ruins, Christopher Lee, and the greatest sound design known to man. What more could you ask for in a Sherlock Holmes mystery? Welcome to Totally Random Horror Films Reviews. I'm Tom. In this series, I randomly select horror films between the years of 1895 and 1989 and review them. For episode 11, we journey to the UK in the year 1959. Today's random selection is a Hammer film adaptation of a Sherlock Holmes mystery, The Hound of the Baskervilles. I researched the usual places for the following information. The idea to include this film came from the IMDb horror film lists. As I mentioned, The Hound of the Baskervilles is based on a Sherlock Holmes mystery book of the same name, written by Arthur Conan Doyle. The film was shot in the UK and had a premiere on March 28, 1959 in London, with a wide release on May 4th. The film was released in the US on July 3rd of the same year. It was produced by Hammer Films, approved by the MPAA, and distributed by United Artists. The film was directed by Terence Fisher. It's color, 87 minutes long, and is available to stream and to download. A little background. Hammer Films had just launched into the gothic horror that they would become known for, and Terence Fisher was right there from the start. And he got things started off with a bang. Fisher would stay right in the thick of Hammer's horror and wouldn't turn back. He brought explicit horror and sexuality to his films, pushing the envelope for his time. You almost can't talk about Peter Cushing during this time without talking about Christopher Lee, the Van Helsing and the Dracula of Hammer horror. The great friends worked with Fisher on two major titles before The Hound of the Baskervilles, which would be The Curse of Frankenstein in 1957 and Dracula in 1958. Cushing also worked with Fisher on The Revenge of Frankenstein in 1958. Peter Cushing, the Van Helsing and Victor Frankenstein of Hammer, and here he plays Sherlock Holmes. Outside of his work with Fisher, he was in The Abominable Snowman in 1957. Christopher Lee, the Dracula of Hammer, just starting out in his horror film career, and here he plays Sir Henry Baskerville. Did you know about Christopher Lee? He was legit an intelligence officer in the Royal Air Force. Andre Morrill, who plays Dr. Watson, was Professor Quatermass in the BBC serial Quatermass in the Pit in 1958. He was also in The Giant Behemoth in 1959. The other names with billing, Marla Landy as Cecile Stapleton and David Oxley as Sir Hugo Baskerville, were just stopping by the world of horror, and neither of them would return. Kinda. Time for the review. First, the spoiler-free review. Sherlock Holmes and his buddy Watson have just been informed that an ancient curse on a rich family has taken the life of a guy named Baskerville. There's another Baskerville getting the money and his life is in danger. Holmes and Watson set about solving the mystery of the curse and the hound that scares people to death. So for a Hammer horror, this one goes lighter on the horror. It's a Sherlock Holmes story, and I'm sure you've read those. None of them read as straight-up horror material. Terence Fisher does evoke enough tropes for it to be on the list. There is a bit of blood, plenty of beautiful sets, spooky atmosphere. If you're going to milk the horror out of the Hound of the Baskervilles, this is how to do it. Peter Cushing as Sherlock Holmes is brilliant. I always thought of the Holmes character as an annoying know-it-all that jumps to conclusions, and that's kind of true here, but watching Cushing nail it makes me dislike the character less somehow. Morrell is great backup, and of course Christopher Lee. Anything he's in, he's so cool. He's a handsome dude with an awesome voice. So awesome he was in a metal band. I wasn't sure about this one sitting down. I think it was pretty good. There are a few differences between the book and the film, but nothing major. But seeing Cushing and Lee is always a treat. The sets are amazing. The backup players range from great to serviceable, with no real standouts either way. I recommend this if you're looking for that gothic feel without going over the top with the graphic violence. Now, the spoiler review. The horror in The Hound of the Baskervilles comes from old spooky stories about ancient curses and haunted places, and from being surrounded by people with motives to kill you. We start right off with a beautiful matte painting, and a dude flying out a window, because this guy is Sir Hugo, the original Baskerville bully, and this set is gorgeous. Some farmer is getting burned because he objects to his daughter being trafficked amongst the nobles. This poor farm girl is listening to her father get roasted downstairs.
Miserable child!
strange that he screams the exact same way twice in a row, but I guess that's possible. So this girl runs away, and Sir Hugo releases the hounds. And this guy's chewing it. Hugo's giving them the girl's scent from a bonnet she left behind. Look, puppies! Wait. That's the same 3 or 4 second loop of hounds barking, over and over. Hugo follows on horse, and look at this day for night. Wow! We have quite a rich Hammer film on our hands. The girl makes it to some ruins and... maybe this is day. Maybe he chased her all night? I mean, the howl of the wolf? Oh, look at the puppies. Oh no. 2 second loop of puppies crying? This is embarrassing. It's like they got a record of like 101 sound effects and just... embarrassing. Oh, it's dark now. Maybe it's... oh no, wait, it's sunny again. This film is a continuity buff's dream. So she's in some ruins and oh no, here we go. Here we go. Of course he's... oh no. Oh, what's he doing? Oh, he's got a... seriously? He just killed her? That's not from 101 sound effects. That's a straight up dude pretending to be a wolf. And that's a camera pretending to be a wolf. And that's the end of Hugo. Whatever this guy is reading, I want framed on my wall. It's so cool. He's telling the story to Sherlock Holmes, who's face palming. Maybe because of the sound director. Holmes and Watson are entertaining this guy named Mortimer, who's trying to hire them to investigate the death of Sir Charles Baskerville. Apparently he died the same way that Sir Hugo did, in the same location. Is this silly man suggesting that dude got killed by a ghost dog? He seems upset that they don't believe his poppycock.
Facts are only of value when they're clear, concise, and correct, Dr. Mortimer.
Well, if it weren't correct, then it wouldn't be a fact, yes? No marks on the body. It comes out that the Baskervilles have an inherited heart condition, and it appears that Sir Charles died in this fashion. Case closed? Mortimer leaves, and Holmes surmises about Charles.
Running for his life. Running in panic until he burst his heart.
And here's Sir Henry, and he's played by Christopher B., so everyone is going to assume he's the culprit behind it all.
What would you expect from a man with a voice like this?
Seems he lost a boot. Maybe he forgot he was drinking out of it the night before when he lost at beer pong. But they make a big deal out of the boot.
What have you been able to find out about my other boot? Nobody in this hotel of yours knows where the other one's gone to. Perhaps you'll be good enough to tell me just what you do with all your boots.
I hope that the missing boot will turn up very soon.
So do I.
Look at how tall Christopher Lee is. Asking about the inheritance. Mortimer got a little bit, but Henry got the rest. Of £1 million. Is that motive for Mortimer to do dastardly things? Who gets the inheritance if Henry dies? Watson is going with Henry because Holmes can't go.
Unless to help me find my other boot.
There's the boot again. And in the boot is a tarantula? Are tarantulas poisonous? Did someone take one of his boots and put a tarantula in the other one? Very strange tactics. Holmes swats the rubber spider.
The powers of evil can take many forms.
Including big non-venomous spiders? Holmes is very adamant that Henry not walk out onto the moor. The carriage driver mentions a man named Selden escaped from the clink. He murdered a number of street women. And he might be hiding out looking to gut people if he doesn't starve first. But Mortimer don't care, he'll take his chances. He's kind of a prick to the driver. He seems to know more than he's saying, and he wants to take that shortcut instead of riding into town. Very suspicious. Watson and Henry are going twinsies today. At the estate, a painting of Hugo was stolen. We meet butler and wife, the Barrymores. Wife throws her wine glass when she hears Henry mention the Hound of Hell. Butler was the one who found Charles's body, and he relates the look of horror on his dead face. He doesn't know if he believes in the Hound, but says he's heard of it. Oh my god, that's the hot rod of tricycles. And this guy's looking for lunch. No, he's Bishop Franklin, an entomologist studying and collecting bugs. And this bumbler has one mode and one mode only. I guess I'd call it bubbly? He's looking for dead people's swag. And he also says this.
Poor Watson in Caprina. Yes, a notorious white slave. A nice fellow, though.
Wilson wanders into the moor and gets stopped by Trapper Stapleton, who has makeup all over his hand. He's poor on the moor.
It's a poor life on the moor, Sir Henry. You bear right at the folk.
Watson continues and somehow doesn't see the lass in skirts sitting on the rock like this. She's more interested in running for no apparent reason than for talking. She knows her way through the moor, but Watson does not. Stapleton shows up and yells to the lass, his daughter, whom he calls Cecile. All fun and games till someone gets swallowed in a river of chocolate milk. Watson's gonna need a bath.
What was she frightened of? There's a convict escaped from the prison.
Ah, makes sense. Here comes Henry. Hitting on the girl? Run her down with a horse, why don't you? That's a charming idea. Ha, bumbling. He grabs her. She kisses him?
Now, would you let me go?
Bartering? Ha, Watson's a creep. How did Henry not see or hear him? Ah, this creep is packing heat. There's a light outside. Hurry! One thing here. No matter the sound design, the sets and locations are crazy awesome. Watson fell in the muck once and now he knows his way around the mire. In the dark. Wow. There's a candle in the window. Then there's a... The hills have eyes. There's a wolf howl, then... Henry's having a heart attack. Nah, he's just playing to get a swig from Watson's flask. The man in the cape on the hill just watching. Cool shot. They tuck Christopher Lee in after detecting his heart condition. More day for night. Geez, fellas. I guess they did what they had to get this made. That's a really nice set. I love that hint of pink and red. Ooh, and the green light. Ah! What's up, Holmes? He's been there all along. He found Selton the convict and he's gathered information.
There is more evil around us here than I have ever encountered before.
Well, I still don't see...
A howl, someone starts screaming, and... Geez, Holmes is packing his own heat. They find Henry dead. Game over. Upstairs, the light is on again.
Who's there?
What was he even doing? So Henry is still alive. Selden the convict was the one who got mauled earlier, as he was wearing Henry's clothing that he might have stolen, but not likely. The body is gone, but there's a trail of corn syrup to the ruins. That leads to the altar. That leads to the mutilated body of Selton. Holmes confronts the maid. Apparently she's Selton's sister. She gave Selton Henry's clothing to keep him warm, and the candle in the moor was a signal to bring food. Holmes goes to visit Spider Pope, who keeps spiders and toy scorpions in tanks.
Yeah. Now, let's see. Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Why did you do that? That was clearly intentional. I don't know what to say. Wow. Holmes asks Franklin about the lost spider, saying he found it in London. You know that spider, the one that was full of evil? Franklin seems like he doesn't want to talk about it.
Will it help if I tell you I am fighting evil?
Holy crap, is he Batman? Tarantulas are dangerous? Anyway, who visited the day the spider went missing? Dr. Mortimer, the Stapletons. So unless Franklin is mistaken, we have narrowed down who planted the spider. The one that may give someone an allergic reaction or bite them like a bee would sting. Henry visits the Stapletons. Cecile enters. There's a little tension. Cecile explains her and her father's history. They came from Spain back to Stapleton's home country to be farmers, but the land sucked.
When you are poor, no one wants to know you.
Say it, Henry. It's right there. Say it. Say it.
I want to know you, Cecile.
Good boy. Uh-oh. That doesn't look right to me. I mean, she's scripted to give in, but Henry's a dog. Then Pops comes in and stares. Then invites Henry and his friends for dinner.
A bite from a tarantula is not necessarily deadly to a healthy man, but to a man with a weak heart.
Stop moving the goalposts, movie. Holmes approaches Mortimer about a mine located on Stapleton's ground, as the Hound is rumored to be down there. They arrange for the three of them to go down and investigate. But after that, Holmes produces the... Yeah, that. And the blood on the blade is...
Less than 10 hours old.
Whoa, aggressive. They go down into the mine. They send Holmes ahead and he finds something, but they let the cart go and it causes the mine to partially collapse. Mortimer assumes Holmes is dead, but hey, what's up, Holmes? He escaped through the air vent. Later he reveals that he found a beef bone underground, and someone stole the dagger. Holmes behaves like a douche to Henry, and he storms off. I guess he did that to get him to go out to the mire, so... I don't know, let's continue. Henry and Cecile make out in front of a matte painting. Somehow, Holmes has deducted that Hugo Baskerville had a webbed hand, and that's why the painting was stolen, to hide it. What? How does he know that? Anyway, it implies that the makeup on Stapleton's hand was actually supposed to be webbing. I never would have guessed. Okay, it looks better there. Everyone congregates at the ruins. Holmes and Watson hide, and Henry goes in for the hug. Friend zone activity. Now he's awkward and she's not into it and...
Swine!
Pull me, push me, baby. It's not worth it.
Your dear uncle, he died here, didn't he? Died because he wanted me, like you.
Oh, so she's been luring brothers out there.
Absolutely horrible. Horrible.
We waited and prayed for this moment, my father and I.
They know they're next in line for the fortune in the land if Henry bites it. Then they bring in the dog to bite Henry. Oh, look at the puppy. Here comes Stapleton with a knife. Ah, he literally brought a knife to a gunfight. Stapleton looks around for a good place to land. Look at this. Dude's making the dog bite him. Oh my, her crazy faces. Yeah. They let her go.
No, Watson, she won't get far.
Ha ha ha. They have no confidence in her. So were they trying to scare Henry into getting a heart attack? The dog was going to maul him like it mauled Selden? Were they going to stab him for good measure? I'm confused. Cool dead dog prop.
They use this mask to make it look more terrifying.
That thing looks plenty terrifying without that mask. And that's where the boot went. For the scent. I thought she knew how to get through the mire. She's been living there for how long? Oh, I forgot. She's a clumsy oaf. And she's drowning and they just watch her go under without helping. Huh. Of course Sherlock wins.
Elementary, my dear Watson. Elementary.
Then the movie ends. The Hound of the Baskervilles is a more than serviceable adaptation of the Doyle novel. There were a few things added, such as Cecile being in on the evil plot. She was combined with another character, if I remember. The actors were all great to pretty good. Cushing is always good to have in a film. Christopher Lee, what can we say? The sound design, it took me out of the film, but it made me laugh, so I say that's awesome. It's a straight up mystery with a little Hammer edge. A little blood, a little cleavage, a lot of gothic scenery. There's no real message from the film. You could argue critical thinking, but Holmes was scripted to be correct all the time, even if his logic were faulty. The man jumps to a lot of conclusions. This is a serviceable film, but I'm not going to gush too much over it. I wouldn't rush out and watch this, but you may see it if you get a chance. It's easy to find. Okay, I'm Tom, and that was totally random.